Hello, my name is Aubrey. I'm so glad you're here because today I'm going to be going over my most disappointing reads of 2023. It's not a long list. Most of the books that I read were really good, but of course, as with any reading year, some of the books were disappointing, so that's what we're here to talk about today. I'm just gonna go chronologically, so what I read first to what I've read most recently. First up, let's talk about ACOTAR. Court of Thorns and Roses. I read all of these books this year, though I did DNF A Court of Silver Flames. This series, I went into it unsure as to whether or not I was going to like it, if it was going to be for me. Of course, the hype around this series is insane. People love Sarah J. Maas and they love this series. And I wanted to be in that boat real bad. Of course, I went into this just wanting to like it. I wasn't expecting anything amazing or groundbreaking. I was not going into it looking for lush world building or gorgeous prose or anything like that. All I wanted was something fun, something romantic. I would have been happy with that. I really would have. I would have taken it and run with it. But unfortunately, the series just isn't, it just was not for me, and I tried. There were parts of it that I did enjoy, like they weren't all, 1 star, this is crap. I believe I gave the first book 3 stars. 2 stars? I can't remember. It was like 2 stars or 3 stars I gave the first book. I liked the fairy tale aspects of it. I found it entertaining enough, like especially towards the end. I feel like the last few chapters were really explosive and they really had me enthralled. I did enjoy it. I didn't like Tamlin or the romance, but it was okay. Book 2, again, I thought had a lot of fun elements. I liked the romance a lot more in that one. I liked some of the adventure aspects. I thought that Sarah J. Maas handled the main character's trauma like decently well, and I just appreciated that she was willing to even try to tackle a subject like that. Again, there were parts of book 2 that I did think were fun and I was having fun. I didn't think it was earth-shattering. It wasn't a 5-star read. I gave it 3.5, but it was like a good enough time. And honestly, if I could go back, I would tell myself to have stopped there, because I think I would have looked back on the series more fondly if I had just stopped there, because it really started falling apart with book 3. Book 3 was, for me, just personally, an absolute slog. I thought it was so uninteresting. Like I didn't care about the larger plot. I didn't think it was handled very well. I did not like the direction that Sarah J. Maas took the romance in. Like it felt so much grosser in book 3. Like they just were doing very really inappropriate things at really inappropriate times. I can't remember it that well because I read this at the very beginning of the year. I actually filmed like a whole video for the first 3 books talking about my opinions of it. So if you want to watch that, if you want to know more of my in-depth thoughts on the first 3 books, I'll have that link down below. And then I carried on with the novella, which I thought was awful. I thought I might like it because I wasn't enjoying Sarah J. Maas's like bigger plots. Like I was not enjoying how she wrote war or handled like this bigger plot, and so I thought like, oh, it's just a cute Christmas novella, maybe I'll enjoy this, and I did not. For The Court of Silver Flames, again, there were parts that I liked. I like Nesta. I personally have a real soft spot for characters who are just like really shitty people, but they don't want to be. Like you can see in them a glimmer of hope that maybe one day they're gonna figure themselves out and pick themselves up. There were a lot of aspects of A Court of Silver Flames that did really work for me and that I did enjoy, but it was sort of ruined by one, the romance, which I would have enjoyed more if I didn't find Maas's like sex scenes and smut to just be, they're just not fun to read. I don't like the language she uses. The men are always grunting and growling and they're like always
dominating and just they're so masculine, and
just like, it's not for me. I also didn't like the larger plot, so the smaller plot of Nesta learning to be a human being again and dealing with her trauma and deciding that life is worth living. That journey I was here for, but everything else didn't work for me. Next up we have maybe somewhat of a surprising one. It's Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I debated whether I wanted to put this on my most disappointing list, but I do think it deserves to be here because it was disappointing. Like I went into this book really hoping this was going to be another knockout 5 stars. Like, I really, really thought I was going to love this. This, similar to ACOTAR, was kind of a mixed bag. Like, there were parts of it that I did really enjoy, and there were other parts of it that just glaringly took away from it. I enjoyed the beginning quite a lot, and I enjoyed the ending quite a lot. I thought parts of it dragged, and mostly why I gave it 3 stars is because I truly was disgusted by the way that the female characters were written and treated in this book. Pierce Brown uses the woman in the fridge trope like right at the beginning of this book, which, if you don't know, it's a trope basically where female characters are killed often brutally, and their death is used as a plot device to propel the male main character forward. It fuels him. I think it got the name because often the female character's body would be shoved into a fridge. Anyway, nobody's actually shoved into a fridge here, but the writing of the female characters is not great, and the treatment of the female characters is not great, and it just really irked me, and I'd never heard anybody talk about it, which I just find kind of surprising. So it sort of put a bad taste in my mouth. I do want to continue with the series because I've heard that books 2 and 3 and so on are much better. Eventually, one day, I will carry on. Yeah, this was a little bit disappointing. It was I think a solid 3-star read, but definitely not the 5 stars that I was hoping for. Next up, I have a series that honestly I probably should have known better, and I guess I kind of did going into it. It's the second half of Shatter Me. I think the original trilogy of Shatter Me it's just fun. It's fun. I like the romance between Juliet and Warner. I like Kenji as her best friend. I just think it's a fun series. I decided to reread it this year. I think I saw them on Scribd and I was like, oh yeah, remember Shatter Me? Maybe I'll reread those. And when I got to the end of the 3rd book, I was like, do I want to continue? I remember when these were coming out and people who loved the original books being like, this is trash. I should have listened. And I didn't read them when they were coming out because of all the negativity. So I don't know why I thought reading them now would be any better. Like, I just had a moment of weakness. I guess I was curious. I wanted to see where the story went. I looked on Goodreads and like the ratings are pretty high. So I was like, well, maybe I'll be one of those people who loves them. But I was not. I thought this 4th book in the series was okay, and I liked where it was going, or where it seemed like it was going. I liked the new characters we were introduced to. It was fun. It was fine. It felt like it fit in with the first 3 fine. It was really books 5 and 6 that started to just fall apart, and I don't know if Tahar Mafi just like didn't have enough time to write these or think about them, because I think they came out pretty quickly. So I don't know what the hell happened here, but these are not good, and they're not only not good, but they sort of ruin everything. They take the series in a direction that's like, wait, what? And there's this big retconning that she does. I just really hate it. And the more I've sat with it, the more I hate it and the more it makes me angry. So yeah, I mean, I can't really talk about these too much without spoiling the original trilogy. I mean, I guess in a way I'm glad I read them because now I know, but I also really wish these didn't exist. Like, I just wish these had not been written at all. So yeah, if you are interested in Shatter Me as a trilogy, or the Shatter Me series, I guess I should say, I would say the first, like the original trilogy and the novellas are fun. They're fun. I'm not gonna sit here and say that they're good, but I will say that I liked them and enjoyed them. I totally understand how it doesn't work for everyone. Like, if you read Shatter Me and you're like, this is garbage, I'm like, yeah. Yeah, but it's fun garbage. Like, it's for me, it's a good time. But these were not a good time. I do not recommend carrying on after book 3. Just let it be. Whatever questions you have at the end of book 3, they don't get answered here. Some of them do, but it ruins everything else. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself like I did. Okay, next up, I have the Caraval trilogy by Stephanie Garber. It feels a bit disingenuous to put these books on this list because going into Caraval, I had 0 expectations. Just the lowest expectations, and the only reason I read the trilogy was because I wanted to read Once Upon a Broken Heart, and some of the characters from Once Upon a Broken Heart are from the Caraval series, and I wanted that context. I listened to the audiobooks on Scribd. They were pretty bad. They were really pretty bad. I would say that book one met those low expectations. I was expecting the books to be a little bit stupid, a little bit juvenile, but at the very least entertaining. And that's basically what I got with book one. I thought it was a little bit stupid, a little bit juvenile. The writing is really bad. The writing is not good writing. I don't want to be a snob, and what I think is bad, other people might think is beautiful and lovely. It's not just Stephanie Garber. This is not something that is solely her, because I've seen it before, especially in YA, but she does it a lot. She does this to a point that it's just unbelievably irksome. Her characters will describe tastes and smells with things that don't have tastes or smells, and she does this constantly, and it's so grating. So for example, again, I listen to the audiobooks, I don't have physical copies, but it would be the type of thing where she would say, he tasted like midnight and stardust, and it's this very dreamy, whimsical writing, but it's also well, what does midnight and stardust taste like? I don't know what that tastes like, and the main character doesn't know what that tastes like, because she's also just a human being. If your main character is an ethereal elf or a fairy or just some otherworldly being, and they describe something as tasting like midnight and stardust, I'll buy it, because maybe they can taste midnight and stardust. It's not evoking anything in me, because I don't know what that tastes like, but I would buy that, some type of otherworldly ethereal character might describe something in a bizarre way like that. Our main characters are people. They're humans. They don't know what midnight and stardust taste like. She'll say he smelled like lies and betrayal, and it's well, what do lies and betrayal smell like? Those things don't have smells, and it's just constant. If she did this 1 to 2 times a book, I could probably let it go, but it's every chapter just describing things with senses that don't make sense. So I didn't enjoy the writing. I did not enjoy the characters. So in book 1, we're following Scarlet, and in book 2, we're following her sister Donatella, and I didn't enjoy either one of them. They're both just insufferably naive characters. The plot really hinges on them not being able to figure things out, second guessing every clue or piece of information that's given to them. They go through these thought spirals that just lead nowhere and never come to any conclusions. If this character is legend, then that would mean this, and this. But if this other character is legend, then that will mean this, and this. I just can't wrap my head around the idea that person A would be legend because of this reason and this reason, but person B can't be legend because it would mean this, and this. And I just don't know what to think. And it's... Again, it's just sort of constant. It's the characters just go in these little bizarre thought spirals, and you're girl, how do you not see what's right in front of you? Somebody can literally say out loud something that makes the conclusion so obvious, and they still don't see it. They're well, but maybe it's this other person. I'm oh my god. And so it just makes the reveals not very shocking, because the readers figured it out 10 chapters before either of the main characters have caught up and figured it out. The world building is super flimsy. I mean, it is unbelievably flimsy, especially starting with book 2. I felt like Stephanie Garber was just making shit up as she went and throwing things in. It's this whimsical world, so I can just throw in whatever I want. My favorite book is Alice in Wonderland, so I have a high tolerance for whimsy. I love me some whimsy, okay? And this was not a good kind of whimsy. It was I don't trust this author knows what she's doing or where the story is going or understands the boundaries of this world that she's created. It's not supposed to feel like things are just randomly being thrown in. It's supposed to feel like an author thought things through instead of scratching your head why wasn't this world building element brought up in book 1? Because it feels pretty big and substantial, but we're just being introduced to it in book 2, and it's playing this very massive part in everything, but at the same time it's also not really being handled very well. It's just sort of a silly, messy, poorly done series. They're the kind of books where the main character is naive, the boy you like and have a crush on is always around the corner to save you or or have a snarky quip for you or do something suspicious to keep you on your toes, right? But he's always there. The villains are all really like mustache twirly. It wasn't for me. It was not for me. I'm pretty sure I gave Caraval 2.5 stars. Again, I thought the first one was okay. Like, it was at least entertaining. I felt like the boundaries to some degree of the world building and what was possible and what the plot was. It had more of that, traditional plot structure. It was fine. 2.5 stars. I gave Legendary 1 star. I thought it was awful. Just bad, and it kept getting worse and worse as it went. And I gave Finale also 1 star because, again, it was just messy. It was just like messy. I didn't know what the story was supposed to be. I didn't know where we were going. At that point, I truly did not care about the characters or the romances. I just wanted it to be over so that I could read Once Upon a Broken Heart, which leads me to my next most disappointing reads of the year, which is Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. I should have known based on reading Caraval and hating that trilogy so much, but I really wanted to like this. I really so badly wanted to like this. I like the covers. The UK covers are stunning. Look at these. I want these on my shelves displayed outward. I went out and bought the first editions with the foiling. The fan art that I've seen on Instagram is beautiful and romantic and swoon-worthy, and I wanted to like these so very badly. And I knew that not liking Caraval as much as I disliked it was a bad sign, but I had also hoped that maybe Stephanie Carper would have grown as an author, or that there was just something about this series that worked better than Caraval, because this series I feel like has a lot more hype and fandom around it than Caraval did, but maybe I'm just misremembering. Because I know Caraval was a somewhat popular series, but I feel like just as soon as it came out, it also started getting a lot of backlash for being bad. Whereas I think I've really only heard good things about these books, and so my hopes were high, and So these suffer from a lot of what Caraval suffered from in terms of the writing and the characterization. Like, our main character, Evangeline, is just head-bashingly naive. Like, she can't figure anything out to save her life. She does the same sort of thought spiraling that Scarlet and Tella did in the Caraval series, and it's just this sort of very similar type of character. A character who, they're kind of spunky and they're likable, but they also are unbelievably naive. Like, you can tell them straight up, like, this person's bad news, and they're like, no, that can't be true. And it's just, it just starts to get grating after a while. Again, similarly to Caraval, I thought this first book was okay. I liked the beginning and the fairy tale atmosphere that it had. Like, I love me a good fairy tale. Good whimsical fairy tale. Like, I cannot stress enough how badly I wanted to like this, and how much I really just thought it was going to be for me. And it just wasn't. Like, again, the plots are just as messy as the Caraval series. Book 1 being kind of the strongest plot, and book 2 just sort of completely falling apart. My hair is getting so long, way too long. The thing that surprised me the most about these, though, and probably disappointed me the most, is that I really went into these looking for a fun, yearny romance, and I didn't get it. Which I just find very surprising. Like, I think that was the part that disappointed me the most, is that, like, Evangeline and Jax, that is her name, right? Am I saying her name right? Yeah, Evangeline. Yeah, Evangeline Fox. Evangeline and Jax, they have no, like, they have just no chemistry, and part of that is that they both have no personality. Evangeline her brain is full of cotton balls, and Jax is just sort of your stereotypical, like, snarky, indifferent bad boy who, like, definitely has a crush on the main character, but, like, can't do anything about it. But it's just not interesting, and there's not enough tension. Our main characters cannot kiss, because Jax is the Prince of Hearts, and if he kisses someone who isn't his true love, they will die. And 2 of my favorite stories of all time have characters that can't kiss. So number 1 is the Raven Cycle. Our main character and her love interest cannot kiss, and there is so much tension. There is so much unbelievable, juicy tension and yearning and wanting, but you can't kiss because if you kiss, the other person might die. It's just delicious. Story number 2, Pushing Daisies, one of my favorite shows of all time, where the main character and his love interest can't kiss because if they kiss, one of them will die. And again, just yummy, delicious tension of almost kisses and you know, kissing through saran wrap, and it's so good. And like, hello, there should be so much tension. There should be so much tension and yearning. And there isn't. It's flat. It's boring. I would have forgiven a lot if the romance had been even a little bit interesting. Major disappointments this year. I'm not going to be reading the 3rd book. I'm not doing it to myself. Yeah, oh well, too bad. All right, well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you next time. Bye.